I think Shark is a good card, but it's definitely not good in this deck. Okay, that's the hottest take of them all. You think Shark is a good card, but you wouldn't run it in Ephemerals. Shark is good, it's just that other cards are better. If that's your definition of good, then I agree with you. Shark is a good card. It makes sense. If some cards were bad, then it would probably like hurt their feelings to say that. So it's like, there's no bad cards, there's just good cards and better cards and really great cards. It's kind of like, we used to play soccer when I was like 8 years old, and to avoid hurting the kids' feelings, they used to give out medals for everyone. So it's like, you weren't a bad player, you were either a good player or a really good player or an actually good player. Those are the ranks. And it works kind of the same way here. Okay, I'll attack there, why not? It's like, that actually explains so much. Now I understand why all you guys are saying Shark Chariot's a good card. I get it now. I completely understand. I do. It makes so much sense to me. This is a pretty sick opener, honestly. I'm not gonna lie. Oh, spooky. Monka. Yeah, I think double Vile Feast could be good. I do really value Vile Feast in openers like this. Because the thing is, you really do need that that early option. You need a way to like get into spell mana, because you're not always just gonna like high roll and draw your Vile Feast here. Unless you're nuts. Then you will. And this opener is just nuts, right? Like, isn't this just unfair? Look at this shit. What does he do? Doesn't make sense to commit to 0 defense. Have you played elusives? My friends, elusives run a lot of defense. This is the entire reason they run Omen Hawk. It's so that they can chump block and race them down. You're not really supposed to only run offense in your deck. It's a race. The idea of winning is like slowing down the opponent while you speed up yourself. And any deck that only does one of those two things is fundamentally flawed. That's why, like, Braum and Ivia, you can look at a deck and say, like, yeah, this deck can't make sense. Because, like, for a deck to be competitive, it needs to have both of those things, pretty much no matter what. And this is why Ephemerals has existed this entire past 6 months with, like, a 40 to 49% win rate. I don't really need to Vile Feast that, right? Because the thing is, Shark Chariot doesn't really help your win conditions. You don't really win off of dealing damage to face. You win off of flipping Callista and flipping Hecarim and getting a good harrowing. That's kind of like how Ephemerals wants to play, because those are its power cards. And you want to be building around your power cards when possible. I hate to break it to you, but Soul Shepherd is a bad card in an Ephemeral deck. I think it's very possible. I mean, I could definitely see myself cutting Soul Shepherd here. I don't love the card. Is this actually good? I mean, isn't his attack kind of shit? I mean, he can't take this attack anymore if I do this. Does Shark Chariot not just act like an extra power spike when Callista or Hecarim is flipped? It does, but the thing is that the way the deck wins isn't by increasing the power of that condition, it's by increasing the likelihood of that condition. So you want your cards to help those things happen, rather than empower them when they do happen. That's the idea with this kind of build, which is why we're running cards like Haunted Relic instead. Because Haunted Relic helps all three of those things happen, in addition to slowing down the game, which is how it helps the harrowing happen, because it can be defensive. And you need your tools to be able to be defensive. So I guess, I mean, I can Callista over this Caretaker now. I wonder if this is even a good play. Who knows? Guys, it's not a hot take that Shark Chariot's a bad card. Like, we've known this for a very, very long time. I got flamed by you guys like 6 months ago for thinking Shark Chariot could be decent. What does this even summon here? Oh, a big shepherd. That's kind of cute. That's a cutie. I guess I'll just play more things. Okay, so we can just kind of start slowly swinging our dick here. It's a pretty big dick. attack. So the Callista has to be on the left of the Harbinger. And I think nothing else matters at all. Okay. It's a 5/6. That's kind of funny. Guys, he's clearly baiting. He knows what a good card Shark is. I don't know. I do like Chariot. I think it's a funny meme card. Some memes feel a little too forced when people like talk about things like a Bubble Bear that are only really funny because of the flavor of it. I think Shark Chariot's a really funny card. I like it when things are sort of like mechanically interesting rather than just like meme cards because of their flavor. And Chariot does that pretty well. I mean, it's a good kind of meme card. Maple Legends stream when? Oh man. You can't tell them that I saw you there, dude. You can't tell people that I was playing MapleStory. Do you know how much I'm gonna get judged if they know? I spend so much effort building a reputation. I mean, I guess I can just do this, right? This looks good. Chariot's such a good target for Caretaker, though. I'm just gonna let that sentence sit. I'm starting to catch on to what's happening here. I suspect that I'm getting pranked. Seems to be the case. I guess I'll just kind of do this. I don't know. I wonder why he's still in this game. Do we lose to like Jinx hands here? Chariot's good with Prankster. Yeah, I mean, Chariot's alright with Prankster, but the problem is, like, at that point, I mean, you can just run Prankster, right? I mean, don't we just win? Okay, what's the plan this time? Why is Vile Feast being ran in an Ephemeral deck? Because the same reason it gets run on every deck. Because it's 2 mana and it hits something and then it summons a little something. Wait, what do you mean? It's not a different reason. What I'm saying is you want to only run the Ephemeral cards that are good. And Blooded Caretaker is obviously one of those because it gets run in normal Shadow Isles decks. Is this what happens when I leave for a few days? This doesn't feel normal, guys. I don't know, something's amiss here. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say that this version is perfectly refined. I don't really love everything about this version. I'm gonna make a lot of changes. I'm just kind of like explaining like the first principle that we should be deck building under universally. Now, the conclusions that we draw from that principle are going to be different, for sure. Like, the most important thing is that we make sure we're asking the right question. If we answer that question in different ways, that's fine, and there's a debate there. But we need to be at least starting by asking the right question. Okay. He's not afraid of Vile Feast. Means he might have, like, Elixir? Or he just wants to damage it himself. This is only a block you take if you either have a way to finish this off with something like Static Shock, or something like Elixir of Iron to protect your card. Like, don't get me wrong, this deck probably has some trolly cards in it. Like, it seems quite likely that Onslaught of Shadows is a trolly card, but I don't know. Who knows? I mean, it has reasons to be in the deck. It's like, I can tell you it's better than Shark Chariot. Easily. Like, not even close, actually. But, I don't know. I mean, it's not great. I'm not in love with it. I could see myself cutting it. Man, I want to play Callista, but I really don't want to get thermo beamed. If I pass, I'm pretty screwed. Whatever. It's a powerful disagree on Onslaught is better than Shark. Guys, Onslaught is 2 sharks. It levels your Callista, and it levels your Hecarim more than Shark does. and you don't have to go out of your way to play it, and it can use spell mana instead of unit mana. That's like 4 different reasons for Onslaught. Why the hell would you run Shark? Just because sometimes it's 3 Sharks instead of 2? But it's too slow. It doesn't level Callista or Hecarim. It doesn't do the only... There's literally one function Ephemerals in this deck are meant to do. They are meant to level your things. Shark's like the one Ephemeral that doesn't do that. Everything else does that. Ephemerals can also block? Yeah, I mean, I didn't even mention that, but correct. It can block if you want it to. That's kind of a big deal. I guess I'll Onslaught here. Can I go Soul Shepherd into Onslaught? Is that greedy? I think that's really greedy. Whatever. This Onslaught's a pretty terrible play. But yeah, Shark Chariot's a really bad card. It's like, it's pretty far off its mark. It's the everything that Ephemeral cards don't want to be, right? It's like, it does everything the opposite of what Ephemerals actually want. Like, Ephemerals don't want to be all in, and they don't want to be committal to the aggro game plan, and they don't want to increase the top end of your hits. They want to increase the reliability of your hits. Every single of those 3 things is the opposite of what the deck wants to do. Shark is just to win more card? Yeah, that's part of it. That's part of why it's bad. That's definitely not the full picture, but yeah, that's true too. Whee! So, like, if this was Shark Chariot instead of Spectral Rider, and don't get me wrong, this game's not really going well, I'm not even saying we're winning this game or anything, but if this was, like, Shark Chariot instead of Spectral Rider, I wouldn't be flipping my Callista here. I would probably be forced to play in a way that, like, I'd have to go out of my way to even summon the Shark Chariot later, which you don't want to do. You don't want cards that only give you value if you go out of your way for it. Like, there's no upside. And I wouldn't even be able to play it there because I couldn't have tapped into the spell mana. That's probably the single biggest reason. Like, the ability to play into spell mana is actually insanely important, especially with a deck like this. Another big problem of Shark Chariot is the turns that it needs to be played on for value are in direct conflict with everything Ephemerals wants to do on other turns. On 2-2, you want to be playing Keeper or Soul Shepherd or passing to set up Callista Relic. Shark Chariot stops you from doing all 3 of those. I mean, he didn't really have Thermo before. Another thing is that makes Onslaught better is you can put the Ephemeral units before Hecarim so that they have damage buff for their attack. That's a pretty minor point, but yeah, sure. Why not? How much damage are we, like, scared of here? This looks fine. Whatever. Its value comes later. It's an investment. Yeah, Shark Chariot's like that guy that tries to sell you a timeshare. It feels like there's a lot of timeshare owners in chat. And I say that with all the love in the world. This is a pretty terrible hand. I wonder if we just lose this game. It'd be pretty funny. First you go after my chariots, now you attack my Timeshare and Cabo. Jesus, man. We're dealing some damage here. What if I just kill my own Callista? Is that genius? I mean, isn't that the best play to, like, glimpse my Callista right now? Because I need the Callista to die so that we can survive. Because we need to survive one more attack. I guess the only problem is, like, Callista might actually be a valuable blocker. I mean, he can't really stop both of these reasonably. So we double glimpse. If we double glimpse, we might actually not be able to develop a blocker. Ooh, that feels kind of bad. I think the best play is to probably just solo glimpse this guy. It's a little too cheeky to open glimpse Callista. So the thing about this situation is, like, this is a good stance to explain clock. This very simple idea, like, we can't kill him this turn, but we have a guaranteed kill on him 2 turns from now with Harrowing when I attack next. So the only thing that could possibly matter is trying to survive the next turn, which means the idea of like glimpsing Callista there just to heal 1 is actually pretty valuable. Because again, nothing matters but clock. We have a guaranteed kill on him when we harrowing, and we definitely can't kill him this turn. So there's nothing that could possibly matter other than surviving the next turn. And glimpsing Callista feels pretty good there. The only problem with that is like, I just don't quite have enough blockers. In what worlds would you play Sapling but don't trust Shark? What's the difference between those two? One of them costs 1 mana, spell mana, and has Challenger. What do you mean? So I will say, I'm not like sure that Sapling is a good card. And it can block. Yeah, it can block too. I'm not really saying Sapling is necessarily a good card. I think it has a chance of being in the deck. It's a hell of a lot better than Chariot, right? I can definitely tell you there's more of a chance for that reason. Like, Sapling is much better than Shark. But yeah, I mean, it might still be bad. And don't get me wrong, you're right. Like, Sapling is a committal ephemeral card. It's got a few of the same... It's not as bad as Shark, but it does share some of, like, the red flags that Shark has. Absolutely. It has a chance of being bad. For sure. It's a good call. I agree with that. The fact that it can be played for 1 spell mana is really important, though, because this deck very often finds itself having exactly 1 spell mana. Like, when you play out the early openers in your head, you see, like, the idea for... Like, okay, look at the early openers. It's like double pass, or a single pass into Keeper, into Blighted Caretaker, you've got 1 spell mana floating. Double pass into Haunted Relic Callista, you've got 1 spell mana floating. It's like any sort of double pass into like Vial or Glimpse, you've got 1 spell mana floating. It's very, very, very common that you just got like that 1 spell mana that's not really doing anything else. So, I mean, we can Onslaught of Shadows here. It's a decent defensive play and can even lead to some Glimpse stuff. Why not? But like, Shark really doesn't have an upside. It doesn't really do anything. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll just pass here with Glimpse. The only important thing is just, like, not dying. We do want to try to kill the clump of lumps if possible, which we have the ability to do if we play Hecarim here. And Hecarim's gonna res anyway. Yeah, we'll play Hecarim here. Oh, I just tapped under Harrowing. I guess I just threw. Live and learn, right? Pepega? All things considered, it was pretty bad. I'm not gonna downplay this. This was a really, really big misplay. Very brain fart kind of level thing. Yeah, good thing Hecarim never dies, huh? Okay, so now he needs like burn to face. We need to hit like some kind of draw that isn't like useless. Are you like set on glimpsing here? Iron Harbinger has a hard time doing too much of anything. I mean, we did just throw. I wonder if this is like winnable anymore. It's pretty bad. I guess we open with Harbinger and see what happens. Because I mean, obviously playing Hecarim just turned a 1 game into a lost game, which is pretty funny. Oh well. Chat's starting to affect Swim's IQ. I have no excuse for that one. That was literally just like, I don't know. I mean, the best excuse I could have is like, I don't play this deck a lot, but that's not really a real excuse. Like, that was just a terrible play. What are my outs? I don't really have any, right? Like, at this point, it's just surviving. Alas. Another Vial? You could go for a second Vial. The only problem is glimpsing kind of deals damage to you. I mean, this game is just thrown. Like, even if we win, at this point, it would just be off the back of just random high roll, really. More than anything else. Why swim almost never using cosmetics? Honestly, I usually just forget. It's kind of the biggest thing. Okay. So at this point, it's just like, hope he doesn't have second Teemo, hope that the puff caps are worth it. It's like, just avoid glimpsing. This is the only way for my misplay to not basically cost me the game. They're just like, hope I don't take too much damage here. Yeah, I guess pre-Vial Feasting is a bit better. Beats some ranges. But yeah, I mean, I think Ephemeral is pretty underrated. I do want to point that out. I think ephemeral decks are actually some of the more underrated things in general that we've seen. And most of the reason they're underrated is because everyone's building them, like, really trolly. I think that this is kind of the better direction. But again, don't get me wrong. It would probably end up looking quite different from this. I don't know how it would look, but it would look different from this. But just something along these lines. Something where you want to enable yourself some, like, aggressive draws. Something where your objective is just to make sure that you're able to juggle the identity. You stay non-committal. You don't play for too much synergy. And you stay non-committal with your options, right? You make sure that you have the ability to win off of your aggro draws, and you make sure that you have the ability to win off of your stall. Are kind of like the two big things you need, right? And this is what Ephemerals wants to look like.